Hey guys, it's me, Pratyush, and today we are going to be talking about the book Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This book is about Greek mythology. It is about the son of Poseidon, Percy Jackson. Percy lives with his mother and stepfather, Gabe, who smelled really bad, never did anything to help his wife, and always played poker with his friends. Percy's mother was the opposite of Gabe. She would work very hard and care for Percy a lot. This year, Percy was in boarding school. His only friend there was Grover. There was a bully too. Her name was Nancy Bobofit. One day, the school went to a field trip at a museum about the Greek gods. The teacher leading this trip was Chiron, who was Percy's Latin teacher. Nancy Bobofit, on the other hand, wanted to be herself and bully Grover. But Percy had pulled Nancy Bobofit, not by hands but with water. Even Percy was confused how it had happened. Nancy complained to their maths teacher about it. The last thing you would expect from a maths teacher is her turning into a monster with wings and black skin who was in the mood for killing Percy. But that's exactly what happened. Luckily, Chiron had his ideas and gave Percy a pen to kill the monster. But when Percy uncapped his pen, a blade came out of its tip. Percy just touched his maths teacher with it and she evaporated into dust, never to be seen again. And then Percy was just standing there with a normal pen. Everyone looked at him as if nothing happened. Even Chiron told Percy to return his pen. All of them returned to school with a completely new maths teacher Percy had never seen. Later, Percy returned to his home with his mother and stepfather. His mother loved Percy. They were low on money since Gabe wasn't doing any work. But his mother wanted to take Percy to a holiday at a beach. So they went to the beach. But in the middle of the holiday, Grover came to Percy's mother as asking, "Why did you think of bringing him here?" Percy's mother shook Percy and asked him, "What did you not tell me about school?" And Percy replied to her mother that his maths teacher had turned into a monster and killed him. Her mother was very surprised and took him straight to the car and drove off with Percy and Grover. Percy was very confused as to what was happening, but Grover kept telling there was no time to explain. In not even a minute, her bull was 10 feet tall and was a hybrid of a bull and human chased after them. Percy was very scared, but Grover and his mother looked like this was normal business. Sometime later, the hybrid called Minotaur was still chasing them. His mother had stopped at a hill with nothing on it. Percy's mother told Grover and Percy to get off. Percy listened to his mother and followed Grover towards the hill. His mom was on their tail, but the Minotaur had caught up to them and had got hold of Percy's mother. His mother died on the spot. Percy was furious and started attacking the 10-feet monster with bare hands. He removed the Minotaur's both horns with extreme difficulty, and the monster turned into powder and they were saved. Percy and Grover both collapsed. Later, when they woke up, they were in a camp. There was Chiron too. Percy was confused and asked Chiron about it, but Chiron just told Percy to rest. There were 3 more people with Percy: Grover, a girl and a man. The girl's name was Annabeth and the man's name was Dionysus. Percy realized this name and asked Dionysus if he was the god of wine. Dionysus nodded his head. Percy was very surprised. A god who was just acting casually and playing poker with Percy's Latin teacher, seemed very weird for Percy. Later, when Percy woke up, he asked Chiron again. But this time Chiron replied that this was the camp for the sons of the gods. Percy thought it was too much confusion and thought that he should go to rest. But Percy didn't have a room of his own. So Percy asked Chiron, and Chiron led Percy to a structure like the letter U shape. All the names of Greek gods, Zeus, Poseidon, Hermes, Athena, Apollo, Aphrodite, etc. Percy got put in the Hermes cabin, which was full of sons of Hermes. Chiron put him there because Chiron was still not sure who Percy's father was. Percy met a guy older than Percy at the Hermes cabin. He said his name was Luke. He was the chief of the Hermes cabin and was also a part of it. He was a really kind guy. When Percy later went out to explore the camp, he met Annabeth again. They walked together and then later met a child of area called Clarice. She was a big bully and tried to introduce Percy's head to a toilet. But something surprising happened. The water rose up and hit Clarice. It was so much water that the whole bathroom was flooded. Even Annabeth got wet. But Percy still didn't get wet. Clarice ran away from Percy and Annabeth. She asked Percy how Percy did it. It was almost like Percy was controlling the water. Sometime later, Chiron announced that they were going to play Capture the Flag next day. Percy didn't know anything about it. So Luke decided to help him. No sword was good enough for Percy. Either they were too long and heavy or were too short and too light. The next day, Percy teamed up with the Hermes cabin and Athena cabin, and Annabeth was in the Athena cabin. Percy's job was to defend. In about a millisecond after the game started, Clarice and her friends were trying to kill Percy for what he had done to them with the toilets. Percy got badly injured, but something in his head whispered, "The water will give you power." Percy ran to the nearest river, which was in camp, and jumped in the water. All the injuries Percy had seemed to heal, and Percy felt immense power. He got out of the water and stuck Clarice and her friends down one by one. All went down. By that time, Luke had captured the enemy flag and they had won the game of Capture the Flag. Everyone came to Percy to admire him. Chiron asked Percy how he did it. Percy recalled the story to Chiron. Chiron told him to get in the water again, and suddenly a green trident made of water appeared on top of Percy's head. Everyone bowed to Percy. Percy was the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. This explained how Percy made the fountain pull Nancy Bobofet, controlled water and splashed it on Clarice, and how he got power from the water. Later, Percy went to his Poseidon cabin and it was so completely empty, no one was there, and there was only one bed. Percy realized he was the only son of Poseidon. Later, Annabeth came to Percy and told Percy about a war of the gods many years ago. She said that the gods had fought a war with their children, which caused almost half of the world to be severely damaged. The gods who fought this war were Hades, god of the underworld, Poseidon, and Zeus, the god of sky and the king of the gods. The gods decided that they will have no more children and made an oath on it. But here Percy was. His father had broken the oath and had a child. Poseidon had broken the oath. This was bad news already, but of course much more was yet to come. On top of that, Zeus thought that Percy had stolen Zeus's master bolt. That's why Hades had sent Percy's crazy Max teacher, who was a monster, Percy was really scared hearing this. How could an 11-year-old boy steal a god's most ultimate weapon? Chiron insisted Percy to train with Luke. Luke was a good swordsman, so Percy decided to train with Luke on sword fighting. Annabeth and Grover later came to talk with Percy. They were talking about the quests the camp gives to them. There hadn't been a quest for centuries, but Percy's luck was on another level. The next day, Chiron announced that Percy, Annabeth, and Grover had to go on a quest together to really find out who had taken the Master Bolt. Chiron's theory was that Hades, the god of the underworld, had taken the Master Bolt. Hades hated the gods. Percy decided to believe that. The next day, Annabeth, Percy, and Grover left for the quest. They had packed all of the stuff they would need for the quest: money, food, first aid kits, and everything else they would need for the quest. Luke had also given Percy a flying shoes, but these shoes couldn't fit Percy, so he gave them to Grover. Percy's first destination was to go to the underworld, which was in San Francisco. They were going to the underworld because that's where Hades lived. Everyone got on the bus and left, but Mrs. Dodds and other two monsters like Mrs. Dodds had appeared on the bus. They were trying to kill Percy. Percy had gotten out of the bus with Annabeth and Grover and had set the bus on fire, which later exploded. Everything was gone: their backpacks, food, money, everything. Now Percy and his friends had nothing. Their items had gotten burnt in the bus. They needed to rest, so they went to the nearest snack bar. The woman working there was an old lady who was sweet and offered Percy and Annabeth and Grover free food from a snack bar. Everyone accepted it. Later, the old lady started showing some of her statues to them. Percy thought they were really weird and was honest about it to the old lady. The old lady didn't like that and showed Percy her true form. The old lady was secretly Medusa and was now trying to kill Percy by turning him into stone. Percy and his friends were able to kill Medusa by cutting off her head. Then Percy just went to another snack bar, but there they met a god, Ares, the god of war. Where Ares' eye should have been, there was fire. The god Ares said that he had a task for Percy. He said he had lost his shield while having a date with Aphrodite, who was the god of beauty. Ares was having a date in a water park, so they went to the water park. Percy realized why they went on a date there. There were mirrors everywhere, so they could see their favorite person, themselves. The shield was on a slide, which Annabeth was able to recover. Ares gifted them with a bag with money and all the other stuff they would need for the quest. Percy and his friends were able to reach the underworld, but of course, it wasn't easy. Percy and his friends had to pass a Cerberus, which is a three-headed dog. Grover managed to calm the Cerberus so that everyone could pass and reach the underworld. There they met Hades, the god of death. He didn't have the Master Bolt, which was a surprise for Percy. They had come all this way to find out that Hades didn't have the Master Bolt. Hades didn't have the Master Bolt, but Percy did in his backpack, which Ares gave to Percy. Hades was trying to make an offer for the Master Bolt. He said he would make Percy's mother alive again if Percy gave Hades the Master Bolt. Percy really wanted his mother back, but he still declined the offer because he knew what was right. So Percy escaped from the underworld and came into contact with Ares again. Ares was angry at Percy because Percy didn't give Hades the Master Bolt. So Percy got angry and asked Ares for a duel. Percy didn't know what he was thinking. He had just made an enemy as a god. Of course, the god accepted the duel. Percy actually managed to win the duel against a god. Ares had disappeared and Zeus had finally appeared to get back his master bolt. Zeus thanked Percy and went flying away. Percy and his friends had returned to camp. Luke had congratulated Percy and asked Percy to follow him to the forest. Luke was trying to kill Percy there. Percy was stabbed by Luke. Percy managed to survive, but Percy's friend was working for the Titan Kronos. Luke was fighting for Kronos. Kronos was the father of Zeus, Poseidon and Hades. When Zeus, Poseidon and Hades were babies, Kronos' wife told Kronos to eat Poseidon and Hades, but she saw how brutal that was and gave a stone to Kronos to eat instead of Zeus. So Zeus had managed to survive, and when he grew up, he fought the Titan and got back his brothers Poseidon and Hades. And that was it for Book 1, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.